You all know that Iranian movies are extremely realistic, educational, and heart-touching. Today's story is about the behind story of such films. The name of the movie is Through the Olive Trees. This movie was made in 1994. Keep in mind that this is a film from 30 years ago. Actually, calling it just a movie would be an understatement. Why am I saying this? You will understand once you see this very simple story. So, without further ado, let's get into the main story of the film. At the beginning of the movie, this gentleman says, "I'm Muhammad Ali Keshavars, the actor who plays the director. Except for me, all the other actors in this movie are from this village. This place is called Kokar, which is 400 kilometers north of the capital, Tehran. Last year, more than half of the people in this village died in a terrible earthquake. We've come to a rebuilt girls' school looking for a young actress." Muhammad Ali's assistant comes running and says, "Sir, the girls are very hungry and have a long way to go. All the girls in the school are lined up." The director apologizes to them for the delay. The director asks the names of the girls he likes. One by one, the girls tell their names. Among them, one girl says her name is Tahereh. Muhammad Ali tells his assistant to note down her name and address. Then the director asks a few more girls their names, but most of the girls don't have a permanent address because their houses were destroyed in the earthquake. Most of them live in tents in different places. The girls eagerly surrounded the director. From the back, one girl asked, "What's the use of filming us? They don't show us on television." The director jokes, "Do you only act to be shown on television?" He then asks everyone, "What do you want? Should we film you or not?" Everyone says together, "Of course, you should." The girls also say, "But you have to make sure our video will show." In the next scene, the title of the movie is shown, Through the Olive Trees. A car is moving along the nearly destroyed roads of this village. The car is being driven by Mrs. Shiva, who is the director's assistant. The radio is playing in the car, and from it, we learn that today is May 30th, 1993. Mrs. Shiva sees a man on the road and stops her car. He is also an actor and a resident of this village, and by profession, he is a teacher. He was heading to the shooting set but missed the minibus going there. There has been filming in this village for a long time, and the entire village knows about it. Let me explain a bit. This movie is about the behind the scenes of making other movies. After driving a bit further, the minibus comes into view. Mrs. Shiva stops the car. The man gets out of her car and boards the bus. Mrs. Shiva then goes in a different direction. Mrs. Shiva does a lot of work. She oversees everything related to the shooting. She stops her car in front of a house and starts calling for Tahereh. She has come to take Tahereh for the shooting. However, Tahereh's elderly grandmother informs her that Tahereh is not home. She left in the morning to go to her friend's house to get a new dress. She invites Mrs. Shiva to sit down. Mrs. Shiva sits on a bench outside. The grandmother complains to Mrs. Shiva, saying that her troubles began when Tahereh's parents died. She had asked Tahereh to fetch water in the morning because she can't go up and down the stairs, but Tahereh still hasn't returned. Mrs. Shiva sees the water container below. She struggles to lift it upstairs. The grandmother thanks her. Just then, Tahereh returns from the other direction. Mrs. Shiva says, "You finally decided to show up?" Tahereh replies, "I went to my friend's house to get a dress." Mrs. Shiva wants to see the dress. Tahereh takes it out of her bag. Mrs. Shiva looks at the dress and scolds her, saying, "You're playing the role of a village girl. You don't need to wear such a beautiful dress." Tahereh is a bit stubborn. She says, "Ma'am, my friend said I'll look very beautiful in this dress." Tahereh goes inside and starts putting on the dress. Mrs. Shiva follows her inside and says, "You look very beautiful in this dress, but for the sake of the character, you cannot wear it. And that's final. Be ready, I'll come to get you at the right time." With that, Mrs. Shiva leaves in her car. Some children see Mrs. Shiva's car and call out to her from a distance. By now, almost everyone in the village recognizes this car. She backs up the car a bit. One of the kids is holding a flower vase. Mrs. Shiva had assigned this boy the task of getting the vase. She asks, "You brought only one vase?" The boy says, "No, I brought two. My friend is bringing the other one." Mrs. Shiva tells them to put the plants in the back of her car. She then says to the kids, "I'll give you a ride." The kids reply, "No ma'am, our school is very close. We'll get there in 2 minutes if we walk. You can go on." On her way, she sees the school under the open sky. The scene changes and the shooting work for the day have begun. A scene is being shot where a man stands at the bottom of a house, while a boy carries a sack over his shoulder and climbs up. The boy's task is to go up and greet his newlywed wife, and then say some lines. However, after greeting, the boy goes silent, causing the director to repeatedly call for a cut. The director keeps telling him from a distance what he needs to say next. The boy keeps trying the same scene repeatedly, but keeps stopping at the same point. After several failed attempts, the boy calls the director over. When the director approaches, the boy says, "I can't do this, I keep forgetting the lines." The director says, "You were speaking just fine earlier." The boy then says, "When I speak to a girl, I start stammering. I can't speak normally." The director tells him, "Okay. You can go now." He then tells Mrs. Shiva, "Please take him home." Mrs. Shiva gets in the car with the boy. As they are about to leave, the director calls out again and says, "Bring Hossein from our camp and have him rehearse these lines on the way." Mrs. Shiva drives off. The director feels very bored, so he goes to the children who came to watch the shooting and quickly befriends them. He starts asking the kids various questions. The children eagerly answer all of his questions with great interest. Meanwhile, we see Mrs. Shiva returning to the shooting spot with Hossein. She keeps rehearsing with him, asking, "Do you remember everything?" Hossein practices diligently, and everything seems perfect. Due to road construction, Mrs. Shiva can't drive through the usual route. She argues with the workers for a while but is eventually forced to take an alternate route to the shooting spot. After a short drive, she arrives at the spot. Everyone knows Hossein, because he is from this village and works as an assistant with the shooting unit. Hossein quickly gets ready for the shoot. The same scene is being filmed again. Hossein climbs up with a sack and greets his wife. But this time, a different problem arises. Tahereh, the girl playing his wife's role, is not responding to his greeting. The director tries several times, but the result is always the same. Then Hossein tells the director, "This girl is not responding to me at all." The scene changes and the director is driving with Hossein separately in the car. Suddenly, the director asks Hossein, "Now tell me, what's going on between you and that girl?" Hossein remains silent for a moment. He then slowly begins to speak. "I used to work as a mason. One day, I was working opposite that girl's house. She was sitting on the stairs of her house, reading a book. Looking at her, I thought she was exactly the kind of girl I wanted to marry. So during the break, I met her mother and directly proposed to her for her daughter's hand in marriage. But her mother treated me very poorly." The director asks, "But why?" Hossein replies, "Maybe I wasn't worthy of her. I was just a simple mason with no home or education. But I tried to make her understand that I would do my best to keep her daughter happy." The director asks, "Then what happened?" Hossein continues, "The next day when I went to work, I found out I no longer had my job. The girl's parents had arranged to get me fired from where I was working. That day, I felt a lot of pain in my heart. That night, an earthquake struck our area. In that earthquake, Tahereh's parents died. 3 days later, I went to the cemetery. But there was such a crowd of people that I couldn't see Tahereh there. Then, I went to the cemetery on the 7th day. That day, I saw Tahereh beside her parents' graves. Her grandmother was with her. I wanted to talk to her, but her grandmother told me to pray for the dead. Before I was halfway through my prayer, they had disappeared. That day, I stood beside Tahereh's mother's grave and said, 'Now you understand how cruel the world is. Here, homes, wealth, and possessions mean nothing. We humans are all equal. But that day, you insulted me greatly. When the earthquake struck, I thought maybe it happened because of the pain in my heart.'" Tears welled up in Hossein's eyes. He told the director with regret, "Since I was 11 years old, I've been working from house to house." The director asks, "What kind of work did you do?" Hossein replied, "I worked as a mason's assistant. I dug the ground, broke bricks." Hossein then describes the last time he saw Tahereh. She had gone to the cemetery with her grandmother, and Hossein had followed them there. As soon as the grandmother saw Hossein, she sent Tahereh home. When the grandmother was on her way back, Hossein again proposed to her for Tahereh's hand in marriage. The grandmother said, "You're just wasting your time. I won't marry my granddaughter to a homeless, uneducated orphan like you." Hossein replied, "Now you don't have a home either. We are equal now." The grandmother insulted Hossein a lot that day, and he felt deeply hurt. He decided that he would never try to see Tahereh again. The story returns to the present. The director stops the car, and just then, Mrs. Shiva's car pulls up next to them. Tahereh is in her car, as Mrs. Shiva is taking her home. Mrs. Shiva asks the director, "After I take Tahereh home, shall I go get the other girl?" The director asks, which girl? Mrs. Shiva gestures to indicate who she means. The director explains to Mrs. Shiva, we can't change actresses every day. Give them some time. Mrs. Shiva's car heads towards Tahereh's house, while the director returns to the camp with Hossein. Upon arriving at the camp, the director greets the elderly cook, a resident of the village who now cooks for the entire shooting unit. The director and the cook starts talking to each other and laugh together. Meanwhile, Hossein goes about his chores, washing the dishes left from the morning. Hossein is primarily responsible for such tasks in the camp. After a while, Mrs. Shiva returns to the camp. She informs the director, I managed to convince the girl. She will come for the shoot starting tomorrow. Hossein hears this conversation from a distance. The next day, very early in the morning, Hossein is sleeping outside the tent. Mrs. Shiva is waking up everyone in the shooting unit. She starts with Hossein. The cook has already been up for a while. Mrs. Shiva wakes Hossein and then continues to wake the rest of the crew. The location is on the slope of a hill. The director has been awake for some time, enjoying the beautiful morning. Soon, everyone in the camp is awake, and a busy day begins. The minibus and cars are ready to take everyone to the shooting spot. Hossein sits in the back of Mrs. Shiva's car, with the director. The director looks at Hossein and says, Are you okay? You don't look too happy. You look worn out. Hossein, with his head down, replies, It's nothing. The director says, Seems you didn't sleep well? Hossein responds, I went to sleep very late last night. The director says, You're looking upset. I can tell. Now, tell me what's bothering you. Hossein, feeling down, says, I greeted her 3 times yesterday, and she didn't reply once. Am I so bad that I don't even deserve a response? The director says, The mistake is yours. Usually, you just say hello once. If there's no reply, you don't keep repeating it. Hossein says, But you told me to greet her during the shoot. The director replies, I did? I told you to say it once. Hossein says, I'm not greeting her again. Hossein then asks, Will Miss Tahereh come today? The director responds, I don't know. Maybe. Meanwhile, the director tells Mrs. Shiva to stop the car because some children and women are waiting on the road. They all run and get into the car. They had gone to the town and were walking back home. The director starts talking to them, and at one point asks the woman sitting in front, Do you think your daughter would like to be in our film? The woman replies, No, she doesn't know how to act. The girl sitting next to her looks very shy. The director says, I can teach her. It won't be a problem for you, right? He asks the girl her name, but she remains silent. From the back, Hossein says, The women and girls here don't tell their names to strangers. The director then changes the topic. The car continues along the destroyed village road. After traveling quite a distance, the women say they will get off there. The director asks Mrs. Shiva to stop the car. Mrs. Shiva stops the car. After the women get off, the director asks Mrs. Shiva to get their addresses. Mrs. Shiva calls one of the women, but she replies that they don't have a permanent address. They are temporarily living in a tent in the olive grove ahead. Mrs. Shiva asks, If I need you, will you be there? The woman nods yes. The car starts moving again. Mrs. Shiva then asks, Why did you want her addresses? The director says, I wasn't interested in her. I was thinking of her daughter for the scene at the spring. If that doesn't work out, I have an idea involving Hossein. The director asks Hossein, What do you say? Hossein, with his head down, replies, She doesn't interest me. The director says, Why? She's a pretty girl. Hossein says, She may be pretty, but she's illiterate. The director asks, How do you know? Hossein replies, They're peasants. They've had no education, and I want to marry an educated girl. When I get married and have kids, if my wife is illiterate like me, who'll help the children with their homework? If we're both uneducated, our future will be very difficult. The director sighs and says, So you don't want her because she's illiterate. Then why would Tahereh want you as her husband? She's also an educated girl. So why are you angry about this? Hossein says, I'm not angry, but I think, if homeowners married homeowners, the rich married the rich, and the illiterate married the illiterate, then nothing will change in this society. It would be better if educated people married uneducated people, the rich married the poor, and homeowners married the homeless. Then there would be no discrimination in this society. That way, they can all help each other out. Hossein continues, if 2 people marry and end up with 2 houses, they can't live with their heads in one and their feet in the other. The director starts laughing and says, Of course not. but they can live in one and rent out the other. Hossein says, yes, they can. Meanwhile, the car stops in front of Tahereh's house. Mrs. Shiva starts calling Tahereh's name loudly. After a few moments, the closed door opens, and Tahereh comes down. She is ready to go. The scene changes to a new shooting. In this scene, Hossein is supposed to scold Tahereh and ask where his socks are. Then he will come downstairs and talk to the gentleman sitting there. There are a few minor mistakes, but the scene is completed within a few shots. Hossein is then told to get ready for the next shot. Hossein goes upstairs and stands a little distance away from Tahereh, who is quietly reading a book with her head down. Hossein is staring at her intently, while everything is being prepared for the next shot downstairs. The director is instructing everyone on where to place things. Meanwhile, Hossein tries to talk to Tahereh. He says, I would never scold you for a sock like in the scene. I'm only saying this because the director told me to. If we get married, I'll take care of all my clothes myself. I'll even organize your clothes. I don't want to marry you to give you trouble, I want to make you happy. You'll never have to cook for me. I'd like you to continue your studies while I work. I'll bring food for you every day after work. The only thing I want is your happiness. I want to make you happy. In the meantime, the shooting for the new scene starts, but Hossein hasn't realized it yet. He keeps talking to Tahereh. Then someone calls out loudly for Hossein from downstairs. He returns to the shoot and starts saying his lines. Shortly after, the camera film runs out, so they take a break. Hossein takes this opportunity to go back to Tahereh. As usual, Tahereh is reading her book. Hossein then says to Tahereh, you still haven't told me whether you like me or not. You don't need to say it out loud. If you turn the page of your book, I'll get my answer. But Tahereh remains completely silent. It seems like Hossein's words aren't even reaching her ears. Hossein continues, the problem is that, I don't have a house. I'll ask the director to let me keep this house after the shoot. I thought I'd never work as a mason again. But for you, I'll do it one last time. I'll make this house even more beautiful. I'll build a lovely window in the back so that when you wake up in the morning, you can see the mountains. I'm willing to do everything for you. Just say yes once. But Tahereh remains as silent as ever. Meanwhile, the shooting begins, and everyone is calling Hossein from downstairs. Hossein returns to the shoot and starts delivering his lines. At the end of this scene, the shooting for the day wraps up. The entire unit begins tidying up. Hossein takes off his blazer and makes tea for everyone, and starts serving the cups to everyone. He then takes the last 2 cups of tea to Tahereh. But once again, Tahereh ignores Hossein. He places the teacup in front of her and goes inside. From there, he brings out a flower and a box. Then he presents the teacup beautifully in front of Tahereh. Hossein stands a little distance away and says, this is how I want to serve you tea every day, this is how I see our life together. The director instructs everyone to finish up and get ready to leave. Mrs. Shiva calls out to Tahereh, Tahereh, take your book, the shooting is done for today. I'll drop you off at home. Tahereh takes her book and starts coming downstairs. The entire unit is busy tidying up. Hossein is also organizing his things. He carries the tea flask in one hand and the rest of the items in the other as he heads to the back of the car, where Tahereh is already sitting at the front. They all see from a distance that the unit is arguing over the transportation. Everyone wants to return to the camp first. Seeing this, Tahereh gets out of the car and starts walking with the flower pot she brought from home. Hossein notices and calls Mrs. Shiva, saying, Miss Tahereh has left. Meanwhile, Tahereh continues walking toward her house. When Mrs. Shiva calls out to her from behind, Tahereh turns around and says, Ma'am, I know a shortcut. It only takes 5 minutes to get home from here. Tahereh resumes walking. At that moment, the director approaches Hossein and says, can't you see we're arguing over transportation? You're young a guy, you can walk. As soon as Hossein hears this, he starts running. The director also wants Hossein to have the chance to get closer to Tahereh. Tahereh is quite ahead now, so Hossein starts running with the tea flask in his hand. After catching up with Tahereh, he maintains a little distance while walking behind her. Tahereh continues walking lost in her thoughts. Hossein says to her, if you're going to give me an answer, do it now. I don't know if we'll ever meet again. Don't listen to your grandmother. She wants you to marry someone rich. But marrying a rich person doesn't guarantee happiness. I'll try my best to make you happy. Your parents are gone. Now you need a responsible husband like me, someone who will love you deeply. I really want to live with you. I'm not here to deceive you. As God is my witness, it's not just your beauty. I want you to have a place in life, free from worries. Let's live life together, hand in hand. Tahereh, whatever your answer is, tell me now. Hossein is almost frantic, trying every possible way to convince her. But Tahereh remains silent and keeps walking. We boys know very well how skillfully girls can ignore us at this stage of life. Hossein pleads again, Tahereh, you have to say something today. The shooting is over, and we might never see each other again. I don't want to die regretting not knowing your answer. Give me an answer today, whether it's yes or no. I promise I won't bother you again. I won't come in front of you ever again. Meanwhile, Tahereh continues to walk in silence. At one point, feeling somewhat despondent, Hossein stops. He lowers the tea flask and looks at Tahereh with a fixed gaze. Tahereh is climbing up the mountain path. Hossein, shouting from behind, Tahereh, you're so proud of your beauty. Your heart is as hard as a stone. I just want to say one last thing, no one will love you as well as I do. Eventually, as Tahereh keeps walking, she goes other side of the hill. Meanwhile, we see the director, who has been following these two from a distance. Hossein reaches the top of the hill but can no longer see Tahereh because there is a vast olive grove ahead. After searching for a while, Hossein spots Tahereh in the grove. He drops his belongings and runs down the hill, as this might be his last chance to speak to her. Perhaps he will never have another opportunity to say these words to her. He may never be this close to Tahereh again. From a distance, we see Tahereh and Hossein, with Hossein running after her and calling out her name loudly. We can't hear the next part of the conversation. However, within a few moments, we observe Hossein running back with a happy expression to retrieve the tea flask he left behind. From this, we understand that perhaps Hossein didn't need to be disappointed. And this is where the film ends. The essence of Iranian story is that it portrays stories close to real life, often drawn from reality and acted out by ordinary people. So, friends, let me know how you felt about the story of this Iranian film from 30 years ago. Please comment and share your thoughts.